Thank you for tuning in to another edition of Tech Talk Tuesday. I'm Jason.
And I'm Zach.
And let's get started with the news.
Dell has released an update to patch privilege escalation vulnerabilities. Some of these vulnerabilities had gone undetected since 2009. The issue was reported this past December 1st, 2020. The issue is in a firmware update driver dbutil_2_3.sys. If you need help updating your BIOS to patch this, please bring it in to us.
Yeah, a long time. 11 years is a long time to go without a vulnerability patch for something that they just now discovered. That's a long time, but hopefully they get it fixed, and make sure you guys keep your computers up to date. PlayStation is expected to release a new processor with its PS5 in 2022. PlayStation is currently using a 7nm chip and will be going to the AMD 6nm chip. To give you an idea on size, a particle of dust is about 10 nanometers, and a human hair is about 60 nanometers across. So we're talking about very, very small amounts for these chips. It's going to be pretty cool having a new chip. This will give you an additional performance boost, as well as should run a little cooler and a little less energy consumption. This is on the back of IBM releasing a 2nm processor coming out here soon as well.
It is under speculation that Apple may be starting to use its own proprietary modem in its up-and-coming mobile devices. Currently, they use a Qualcomm for their wireless modems, but we could see this change by 2023. One more thing that
Apple's
can't be fixed.
All right, Ford is working on creating a full electric pickup. Currently, they have a hybrid version, but they're going to be going to a full offering. They're going to be offering a full electric pickup truck starting in 2022. This announcement came, and the name of the new truck is going to be called the Lightning, which it seems a little odd to me because the Lightning has been the truck for the Performance series for a while now, for the SVT series, but having it called the Lightning makes sense with the electrical side of it, but they already have a truck called the Lightning, so this isn't going to be the same, although with the performance of an electric car, it might be pretty beefy as well. So anxious to hear more about that. It's going to be going on sale in spring of 2022, and will be showcased this month on the 19th in Michigan.
Colonial Pipeline Co., who operates over 5,000 miles of pipelines. They also deliver 45% of the gas and jet fuel supplied to the East Coast, was hit by a ransomware attack this past weekend. This caused a total shutdown of their operations because they had to contain the malware, and if you leave systems online when ransomware is on the system, it can spread very easily. Very easily,
and they have to keep them up as long as they can without shutting down for the shortest period of time. But yeah, it's definitely a bad thing. People are saying to keep your gas tanks filled up this week and next week because gas prices might increase over the next 2 weeks.
The ransomware was named DarkSide ransomware, but I don't think the group has been found yet.
Or claimed ownership.
Yep.
Next is our tech tip of the day. Our tech tip of the day is Google Calculator.
Yep, so Google Search can also be used as its own calculator. You can just type in the equation that you want to calculate, either by number or by spelling out the word, like 2 times TIMES 2, and then equals 4.
Good to know. All right, for our product demonstration today, we're going to be taking a pre-built computer, which is currently about the only way you can get a video card these days is to buy a full pre-built from a company like CyberPower PC or iBuyPower or Skytech or Origin. There's a number of places you can get them from, CLX in Wichita being one of them as well. They're still really difficult to get decent video cards right now. They're really hard to get the 30 series. But pre-builts have their negatives as well. Today we're going to be going through an initial benchmark after we do our unboxing, as well as show a post benchmark when we actually are going to change out the hard drive to an NVMe solid state drive, and we're going to change out the RAM to better performing and increase memory as well. All right, so today we're going to be taking a pre-built from Skytech. I want to mention that we are not sponsored by Skytech in any way, but we want to go through some of the negatives and positives. We've had pretty good luck with Skytech. We've had some bad luck with some other providers on pre-builds, but we want to at least go through a Skytech build, and the specs on this computer are
a AMD Ryzen 5 3600 6-core 3.6 gigahertz processor, a B450 motherboard, a GeForce 1660 Super graphics card, 16 gigabytes of RAM, DDR4 of course at 3000 megahertz, a 500 gigabyte SSD, and a 500 watt 80 plus certified power supply with Windows 10 Home.
and this will be running on Windows 10. So this is sealed. We have not done anything to this yet. We're going to go ahead and open it up now. All right. It's always those. Now this one right away, what you can see is that looks like something got it through there and ripped the bag. Maybe it ripped when it was being put in, but I'm not sure on that.
That's unfortunate because they usually have some pretty good presentation.
They usually do. I popped out the. I think the front's off a little bit.
Did you do this or did it come like that?
I think it was popping off when I came like that. I don't know. It seems like it might have been pretty beat up. Stuff that happens in shipping. Okay. So there you go. There's the computer as it is. We're going to open it up, pull out the please read and the foam. This stuff's supposed to help with shipping and having the video card not bounce around in there while it's shipping. Sometimes it helps, but sometimes you actually have to kind of really hurt the parts to get it out because it's usually too full. But there's the computer as it sits. I'm going to take the case off.
And don't forget to peel the sticky thing off the back.
So on the back, they give you this nice little warning label because if you plug in, if you get a computer that has a video card already, you don't want to plug into the HDMI slot on the motherboard. You want to plug it into the video card itself. And sometimes that's confusing when you first get a computer. Maybe it's your first computer as a whole. But once you have a video card in a computer, the motherboard's GPU slots kind of sort of turn off, or the HDMI slots turn off. So today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be pulling out the RAM that's in here and replacing it with Corsair 3200 megahertz DDR4, and we're going to do 4 sticks of 8, which makes 32 gigabytes total. And we're going to be taking out which is a PNY 500 gig solid state drive, which is the 2.5-inch version, and we're going to be putting in a NVMe solid state drive, which is about 5 to 7 times faster than your standard SSD. So while most people understand that they check the box that says they have a solid state drive, there's a significant difference between a standard solid state drive and an NVMe drive. So we're going to do that first. Yeah. Okay. But first what we're going to do is do an initial benchmark, so we have a baseline, and then we'll do a benchmark after we get done and show the performance differences. All right, so we've got our computer powered on. What we're going to do is turn off the lights for just a moment so you guys can see the RGB. This is a functionality that you can actually change right here on the top of the case, which lets you show off different kinds of RGB styles and colors and modes. So there's an RGB mode. And then you can go through each individual color. All right, so then looking at the front, you can see that there's fans on top, and there's an RGB strip along the side here. Okay, so the first thing we can do on a pre-built computer is change out the solid state drive that comes with it, which is, in this case, a 500 gigabyte PNY drive, which I'm not trying to discount that drive as a solid state drive, and in that format, it is fine. but the NVMe formats are about 5 to 7 times faster than that. We're going to be installing a Samsung 500 gigabyte 980 SSD NVMe M.2, and that should show about an overall performance between 20 and 30%, but on the drive itself could go from being in the 25th percentile up to the 90th percentile. We'll have to see. We're also going to be installing two 16 gigabyte kits of Corsair Vengeance LPX DDR4 in the 3200 megahertz speeds. So these will be a significant improvement, I believe, over the OLOY, which is what isn't here currently. Not only in addition of the 16 gigs of RAM, giving us 32 gigabytes total, but also be going from 3000 speed to 3200 speed. Okay, so looking at what the internals are on this computer, you can see that this is an MATX motherboard, which means it's not going to be a full ATX. It kind of sort of limits you a little bit on options as far as like additional PCIe lanes, but it's a pretty good board still. It's not as bare as like an ITX. It's a decent, okay B450. They put in OLOY RAM. The first thing we're going to do is actually unplug the solid-state drive that came with it, so that way when we're booting up to Windows on the NVMe, we can just go straight to installing it on the right drive. If you leave that plugged in, it's going to try to boot to that drive, and what we want to do is have it boot to the NVMe initially so we can reinstall Windows. But here's your Samsung 980 NVMe M.2. One other frustrating part about pre-built is that rarely, if ever, do they send you the accessories that came with all of the parts they put in here. So when they get the motherboard comes with all of the M.2 screws, and they hardly, actually I haven't seen it once where they've come with the M.2 screw in the accessory kit that you get from the manufacturer. So we have to bring our own, which we did bring one, but when we put this NVMe in there, there is not a screw in place. So make sure you have one or order one before you try to do this. The NVMe goes in a 30-degree angle, so you're going to put it in at a 30-degree angle. Oh, see that? Get my hand out of the way and push it in, and then slide it down into place, and we're going to put the screw in place. There we go. Okay, so now our NVMe is in place. What we're going to do next is remove the RAM. We're going to push out the tabs. On this particular motherboard, sometimes the tabs both open up. On this one, just the top side opens up, so we're just going to push that down and pull out the RAM. Push the other one down and pull out the RAM. Next, what we're going to do is just put in all of our Corsairs. With these, you can see a notch that's in place here. This notch you want to match up with a notch that's on the motherboard, which on this one is kind of sort of what I say more towards the bottom. The bad part about these near the DDR4 RAMs is that they're kind of sort of towards the middle. Prior to this, the DDR3 and 2 were down here, so much easier to tell which direction to put them in. Just make sure you put them in the right direction. Like this one's going to go in here like this, but if you put it in here like this, you could actually break the pin where this hits. So if you look down inside there, you can see where the pins are. So what we're going to do is just, I'm going to start away from myself. And you want to hear two distinct clicks, like we just heard. One, two. One, two. And now our RAM is in place. So we're going to go ahead and leave the SSD that came with this drive off. After we get the operating system installed on this 980, we can actually plug that one back in, and we'll just reformat it as a brand new solid-state drive that's separate. And it'll have a 500 gig NVMe and a 500 gig SSD, and that should be pretty good for performance. And we have 32 gigs of RAM. So next thing we're going to do is install the operating system and then do another benchmark. Okay, so we've got our NVMe installed. We have our new RAM installed. What we're going to do next is run a Passmark benchmark. The reason why we use Passmark is because it runs both the disks, the CPU, the RAM, and the GPU. And we kind of like to have that base comparison, not just a standard GPU checker or a CPU checker by themselves. Thank you for tuning in to our show today. Hope you guys learned a lot and hope it was useful for your future endeavors. I'm Jason.
And I'm Zach, and we'll see you in the next one.